Today's video dedication is brought to you with thanks from Dan Kirch. Maelstrom Wanderer versus Dakon Blackblade with a bunch of colourless mana and not a single green source. If we had any green I'd keep that, but we don't, so let's mulligan. Alright, and that takes us into a green source. We draw the mana crypt again. Let's just get rid of the scroll rack there. We are on the draw at least. Our opponent gets out a Rocky Tar Pit. We draw into Kiki Jiki, so crack the Bloodstained Mire for a green source. And then we can go for the Mana Crypt into the 3 visits. And that can sort out our blue mana for us, which can allow us into the Jiraga Tree Speaker, ready to tap down for green mana next turn. Our opponent just cracking fetches. And we draw into a Worldly Tutor, which is probably going to be some means of ramp for us. We'll level up the Jiraga Tree Speaker, and then we might as well tap that down and level it up again. We're not going to be doing anything with a level 5 Jiraga Tree Speaker. It does buff its toughness, so that might be relevant, but we're also not going to be doing anything with the 2 mana that we just sunk into it, so might as well level it up while we can. Now, seeing a Gorging Vulture, when it enters the battlefield, mill 4, gain a life per creature that's milled this way. Let's go Worldly Tutor. And I'd love to go for the Consecrated Sphinx here, but we don't have double blue, unfortunately. So I think it probably just has to be Oracle of Muldaia, and we just keep our fingers crossed. Noteworthy that the Oracle of Muldaia is an elf as well, so could be relevant after all with the Jiraga Tree Speaker eventually. So play out the Oracle of Muldaia, and still no land on top. We do get into another elf though, so yeah, let's level up this thing. I'm not going to pretend that I've got counter magic held up. Didn't look at what they milled actually. They now have a Watcher of Spheres in play, or in the graveyard, a land, a Discombobulate, and a Celestial Gatekeeper. They just played an Unnatural Selection, along with a Skyshroud Condor, so they've obviously gone for Esper Flyers, swinging in at us with their 2/2 black creature. Okay, still no land on top. Tireless Provisioner is the card we go for here. Let's tap that down, and we'll level up our Jiraga Tree Speaker again. It's going to be more relevant than I thought it was going to be. So next turn we can level this up to level 5, and we'll have 6 mana from the elves here alone. Seeing Rock Egg from our opponent, they hit us for 4 in the air again, and they've only got 2 cards in hand. Holding up double blue could be counter magic, and still no land on top. That is a Crystal Shard, so we will put the Wild Growth onto the Tiger so it taps for additional mana, and the Jiraga Tree Speaker can level itself up with its own mana. And then they go for Unnatural Selection, so choose a creature type other than wall. Target creature becomes that type until the end of the turn, so yeah, unusual that this is going to be relevant, but yeah, elves we control are going to tap for 2 green mana. The Oracle of Muldaia won't count there, of course. Forcing our opponent to spend mana on this isn't the worst thing though. But this is the strangest game of Maelstrom Wanderer I've ever played. So now, with that still on the stack, stopping this from being an elf as well. So now, we've got plenty of green mana. We're struggling on coloured pips, obviously. We can always go for the Cyclonic Rift during our opponent's turn if we're worried about them messing with us with the Unnatural Selection. A Stormcrow, a 1/2 flyer, continuing to peck away at us with the birds. And now we'll see if during the upkeep they turn our elves into non-elf creatures. So we'll tap that down for mana in response, because I might just go Cyclonic Rift here. So we'll just tap out all of our creatures here and go for the Cyclonic Rift Overloaded right now during our upkeep. Force them to replay that Unnatural Selection. We've still got the ability on the Oracle of Muldaia, so we can still play lands off the top, assuming that we can actually get into any. Alright, finally a Mosswarp Bridge. And going to get rid of a Chromatic Lantern. The Tireless Provisioner going to make mana for us. Hide something away here and try and put a land on top. And our opponent scoops there, yeah. I'll show this as a little bonus video. That was a really goofy Maelstrom Wanderer game, and we were obviously up against a janky Esper Bird tribal deck, so it's hardly a fair game. Far from over, but I think we would have got out from underneath our opponent in time there. Okay, up against Minsc and Boo this time with no green mana, no ramp. Again, we will mulligan. And yes, that's looking pretty good. We'll keep that one. Get rid of the scroll rack again. And once again, I think this game is pretty much going the way that it did in the previous game. We had to mulligan down and also get rid of a scroll rack, and we're on the draw. I think that's how the last game went. Anyway, they've got a tiger for us. That is a Farseek, so we go for some red mana here. We'll grab a tiger of our own and throw a wild growth onto it. Still no ramp from my opponent, which is good to see. We draw a worldly tutor. I think we shock in the breeding pool here and go for Tireless Provisioner, ready for seeing the Farseek and potentially a land drop next turn. Now seeing a Devilish Valet. Has Trample and Haste but does not swing in, because we can block that quite nicely. Okay, managed to get into another land, so let's shock that down and we'll try our luck with the Oracle of Muldiah here. Make a treasure token with the Tireless Provisioner. And we do have another land on top, excellent. Doesn't always go my way with Oracle of Muldiah. We'll shock that in as well. Make another treasure token. There is another land on top in the command tower. So, do we hold off on the Farseek? Yeah, I think I will hold off on Farseek. We can always go for Beast Within onto the Minsc and Boo if they decide to go for that next turn. So let's offer up them blocking with the Devilish Valet, which I'm sure they're not going to do. And we are indeed seeing Minsc and Boo. I think I've F6 through the turn actually, so I should have... Alright, we do get another trigger. This is the good thing about, from our perspective, Minsc and Boo actually comes in and puts a trigger on the stack. So what would normally happen with a Planeswalker is you get priority as soon as you throw it into play, so that no one can interrupt you putting abilities on the stack from the Walker and stuff. But yeah, the Boo coming into play is a trigger you can respond to, and in this case the Devilish Valet is as well. Let's go for Beast Within onto their commander before they can activate anything. They are going to double up the power of their Valet twice here, thanks to getting a Beast token as well as a Boo token. So that goes from 1 power to 2 and then doubled up to 4. It is a 4/3 with Trample and Haste. Deciding not to swing in though, curiously. Maybe they're worried about us getting our commander out next turn. Getting really lucky with these lands. Throw out an island straight off the top. And we see a Natural Reclamation, which we can't do anything with. We will cascade into it though. So maybe want to go Worldly Tutor with the Maelstrom Wanderer on the stack. Don't know if we're even going to cast it this turn. Treasure token from our Tireless Provisioner. Throw out the command tower as well for another treasure token. Yeah, we actually can go for Maelstrom Wanderer here and Worldly Tutor, so let's go Worldly Tutor first. Cascade ourselves into the Consecrated Sphinx so that we can draw a bunch more cards. So Cascade goes on the stack. Once we cast our Maelstrom Wanderer, that will take us into what we just tutored for in the Consecrated Sphinx. Hopefully refill our hand over the next turn or two with that. And then we get a Mystery Cascade, have a land on the top which will be bypassed. Just a Sakura Tribe Elder for us. So let's swing in with our Maelstrom Wanderer and the Consecrated Sphinx here, I think. Don't really mind if our opponent gangs up on Maelstrom Wanderer and has us recast it again. Still have a land on top, ready for playing multiple lands next turn potentially. Could always shuffle that around. We're obviously going to draw the land and another card here. Yeah, they decide to scoop there. I mean, we really slowed them down by blowing up their Minsc, and even if they had that in play, I don't think they would have done much to us. Maybe could have used Boo to fight things out of the way and dealt damage with the commander, but when we're just ramping ahead and getting free spells with Maelstrom Wanderer, it's really difficult to get out from underneath that. Maelstrom Wanderer up against Azami this time, and yeah, that's just a one-lander. We will mulligan into another one-lander, mulligan again. Into another one-lander, mulligan again. Alright, into a three-lander. Yeah, just have to keep that. Apparently not going to do anything this game. So keeping 3 lands and a Thran Dynamo. Just trying to limp our way up to the Maelstrom Wanderer. A lot of the time with this deck you can only get a full game if you're losing anyway. Draw into Eternal Witness, throw down the island. Arcane Signet for the mono blue player. We draw a Windswept Teeth, so I'll just get down a Triome with that. I'll pass the turn and pretend I'm holding up counter magic. Sigil Tracer is 2 mana, tap 2 untap wizards, copy an instant or sorcery. Well, we're not going to do anything about it, so get the Triome down now. Alright, another island for us. Get down the Mana Confluence, so we're just going for Eternal Witness to have a body in play and grab a land. I mean, we're not doing anything else, are we? So, might as well. Not worthy that my opponent is missing lands here, which is really good. If we can get into a means of blowing up their Arcane Signet, that would be really good. Unfortunately, Fellwar Stone does tap for blue mana. We'll test them on having some counter magic here. Drew into Hinterland Harbour, comes in untapped, so let's throw out the Thran Dynamo. And they do have counter magic, as you would expect. It will draw us a couple of cards though, so that's not the worst. They will also draw a card at the beginning of their upkeep, so could get into a land for the for their commander. We get a Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, and a Mystical Tutor. Could do that during the upkeep maybe. They have a Cavern of Souls in play on Wizard, which is relevant. And a Back to Basics. Non-basic lands don't untap during the untap step. How annoying. So I think we have to go for removal on that thing. I think we grab a Krosan Grip with that so that they can't counter it. And then let's throw out a Windswept Heath. We can grab ourselves a basic forest with that. Now seeing Azami, Lady of Scrolls, hit play, and they can start to draw cards this turn. That's not affected by Summoning Sickness. We draw into Vorinclex, the original one. Just throw out an island, and we'll have them not untap their Cavern of Souls. I suppose we should be swinging in with the Eternal Witness here because they're not going to want to be blocking with that. Tap down Azami at the end of our turn, and they'll do the same with the Tracer, drawing 2 cards. Once again, deciding to just pass through the turn, we will Krosan Grip onto the Back to Basics. That does have split seconds, so there's very, very few things that they can do in response to that. And we successfully blow up the Back to Basics. Now a Kodama's Reach for us, so let's just play that out straight away. Brainstorm in response. Then it is a Flusterstorm, so going to force us to spend some more mana here. The only thing we were really going to do here is play the Kiora, so I will put the mana into the Kodama's Reach. 6 cards in their hand now. They go for more card draw by tapping down the Wizard. And again, and with 8 cards in hand, they go for Wizard Cycling on the step through, which would otherwise be return 2 creatures to their owner's hand. And with that, have decided to tutor up a Triskaidekaphile. Grab ourselves a couple of mountains here, put 1 into play tapped. And then, what do we have? That is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So we can lose a Wasteland this turn. Maybe we go for strip mining the Riptide Laboratory. They know that we've got the mountain in hand, so they know to expect the Maelstrom Wanderer next turn. Swing in with the E-Witness. Triskaidekaphile is... We're going to have 9 cards in hand here. 10, 11, 12, potentially 13. Alright, they're playing a bunch of stuff down anyway. Ancient Tomb, all their fast mana coming down. Mana Crypt and a Chrome Mox. Chrome Mox has Ristic Study go underneath it. Throwing down the Triskaidekaphile. Maybe they've got some kind of combo available to them. Did not see that. That was a Nexus of Fate, so an extra turn after this one. And they'll draw cards. So 3 cards goes to 4, 5 and 6. They'll draw a 7th one during their draw step, of course. A Preordain will cantrip itself, so staying at 7 cards. Then solve the equation, another tutor for an instant or sorcery. And this time they went after the High Tide to double up their blue mana on the islands. They actually don't have that many islands. Drawing cards with their wizards. Takes them up to 10 cards in hand. Then playing themselves a Curse Catcher. And a Phantasmal Image. Comes down as a copy of the Triskaidekaphile, so really lining themselves up to be able to win with that. Tapping it down for a card draw. Deciding to play out Minamo as their land for the turn. They can untap a legendary permanent with that, although they don't have blue mana available to them at the moment. Okay, Utopia Sprawl getting into some ramp a little bit too late. Let's throw down the mountain and try our Maelstrom Wanderer. And we'll just hope for some really good cascades here. That is a Muldrifter to start things off. We'll draw us a couple of cards. Okay, gets us into lands that we need for the turn. If we cascade into a good instant or sorcery here, then the Curse Catcher can deal with it, and there we go, that is a tooth and nail. So going to go for both of those and force them to do the Curse Catcher. Oh, actually we have to pay the 2 into that, so instead we will search. Could go for the Vorinclex, I suppose. Yeah, instead let's go for the search. We're not going to land this anyway, I don't think. Alright, and they had a swan song anyway, so deciding to hold on to the Curse Catcher. We're going to have haste on our flyers, so turn everything in sideways and just try to outrace our opponent. Land 7 commander damage on our opponent. We've got another few turns to go yet. They draw another card off the Curse Catcher. And they do get bolted by the Mana Crypt, so down to 17. I think they managed to make another island there. Drawing with Azami again. And the Triskaidekaphile. Yep, just drawing a bunch of cards here. So they're going to be at 13. And I imagine if they don't feel as though we're going to do anything against them, they could just hold up the 13 and pass through the turn. Instead deciding to go down a card. Mind over matter, discard a card. And I think they untap with that, don't they? Yeah, you may discard a card to untap an artifact, creature or land, so they discarded a land to that. Untapping the Curse Catcher, tapping it down again, and then discarding a land to the Curse Catcher again, and I mean they can just fish for whatever they want at this point. Seen the back of a negate, an Illusionist Braces has been discarded, as has a Mana Vault so far. Okay, they accidentally targeted with Mind Over Matter their prismatic or their phantasmal image, so that got sacrificed. Discarded a Pheto Alchemist, long-term plans, and a Cyclonic Rift as well. Just keeping up with the bin here, a Nykthos, we've seen some basics, a Labman, a Vodalian Hexcatcher as well. Okay, Worldly Tutor, so don't think we can draw into anything off the Worldly Tutor, unfortunately. So let's play the Sulphur Falls. We'll try to put Utopia Sprawl onto the basic forest. Don't think they'll counter that. That comes down, we'll just have it tap for double green is fine. And then we'll try to land the Vorinclex Voice of Hunger. We can go for the Worldly Tutor during our upkeep if we have another upkeep. But might as well try and slam 7 more damage into our opponent here. We are pretty much forcing them to counter. They might have Pongify or something like that. Could also screw up their lands here. Maybe they're desperate for the mana from these lands next turn. Wouldn't have thought that would be the case though. Having some cards enter the exile zone here. Spellseeker, Misdirection and High Tide I'm guessing are that's an alternative casting cost for something. Didn't realise I was overpaying for the Vorinclex actually, so I should have held up the Worldly Tutor for the end of my opponent's turn. A March of Swirling Mist. As an additional cost, exile any number of blue cards from your hand, and it costs 2 less to do that, so they're down to 7 cards in hand, and phasing out our creatures. So that renders the Vorinclex pretty useless here, as all our other creatures are as well, of course. Still need to win though. Once again going for card draw, they've gone through to the main phase. Noteworthy that they've dropped an island this turn. They have lost their High Tide though. Trinket Mage is going to search up an artifact with CMC 1, and it is Sol Ring as it usually is with Trinket Mage. So throwing down the Sol Ring straight away. Only got 44 cards left in their deck, so I'll be very surprised if they don't win this one. That is a Malevolent Hermit. Tapping those down for card draw. Then a Ponder. Look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order, you can shuffle, then draw. Merchant Scroll, another tutor for a blue instant. And it is Dramatic Reversal, another combo piece, so that's a shame. That's a pretty boring one. I don't mind Mind Over Matter, you don't often see that one, but yeah, Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal's pretty boring. Was hoping to see something new this game. Anyway, for any of you that don't know, Isochron Scepter, play the instant that you put underneath it for 2 mana. Dramatic Reversal untaps all your non-land permanents. So for 2 mana they untap all their non-land permanents, which does of course include the Isochron Scepter as well as the rocks, so they generate mana every time they do that basically. And they untap all their creatures to tap into the Azami as well to draw their deck. And once again, tapping down, they've got 21 cards in hand, activating the Azakron Scepter, not floating mana from the Arcane Signet for whatever reason. Clearly don't feel as though they need the mana. A Fairy Seer, just getting as many wizards into play as possible. That will scry 2 when it enters. They've got a Storm count of 10 as well over here, which is noteworthy, so maybe they can win with Storm, bouncing all of our lands back. That is a Patron Wizard. Tapping down their wizards for card draw again. Currently on 24 cards in hand, 23 cards left in the library. Then is Azakron Scepter into the Dramatic Reversal again. Even more card draw, they don't have enough yet, clearly. So I wonder, they had Labman in the deck, I wonder if it's just the Thassa's Oracle combo. They're trying to get themselves down to only a few cards left in the library, and then, yep, there you go. Just playing out the Thassa's Oracle, so at least they're showing us now. It's your typical CEDH wing combination. I mean, it's in 1v1, so not particularly salty about that. I was just hoping for actually seeing something unique, but yeah, it's pretty typical stuff, unfortunately. So it's a good game to my opponent, Azami, Lady of Scrolls. Hopefully you all enjoyed seeing this game, and the couple of bonus games that you saw before this as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.